All right, thank you guys. Welcome to our NBA video here today for Monday, April 5th. My name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. If you end up really enjoying this video here today, please feel free to give it a thumbs up by smashing that like button. And if you're new here and you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please feel free to do that right now as well. I'd greatly appreciate it. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and dive into some NBA action here today. Let's go ahead and start off with the Cavaliers versus the Spurs, 7 p.m. Eastern start time. The San Antonio Spurs are -9, totals 15 flat. And if you like Cleveland in this spot here to win it, they're plus 325 on the money line. And despite a pretty dismal day on my Patreon website yesterday, we're still 7-2 in our last 9 $1.99 daily best plays on my Patreon page. We're also a perfect 5-0 in our last 5 college basketball tier package picks on that Patreon website as well. We currently have over 1,175 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that Patreon page is in the description section below. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. And despite a bit of a skid here recently, the Cavaliers still find themselves in the top 10 in the NBA defensively in points allowed on the road. Cleveland's also successfully covered the number against the likes of Sacramento, Chicago, Toronto, and Boston within the past few weeks as well. Now, Jared Allen and Larry Nance are questionable for tonight's action. Having said that, though, they're still led by Colin Sexton, who scores 24 points a game along with 2 rebounds and 4 assists. Darius Garland's also scoring over 16 a night himself. 2 rebounds, 5 assists for Garland. Cleveland's in the top 3 in the NBA defensively in points allowed on the road. Now they're taking on a San Antonio team who's on a 2-game losing streak themselves, just 2-7 straight up in their last 9. Georgie Deng is questionable. Bates, Diop, Walker, and Lyles, they're all ruled out for tonight's action. Now the Spurs have struggled in the AT&T Center this season, just 12-16 straight up on their home court. That's a losing record at home. They also covered just 42% of their ball games at home as well. San Antonio is in the bottom 10 in scoring on average per contest, bottom 3 in defensive rebounding. Now, total-wise, San Antonio's seen quite a few overs recently, 7-3 to the over in their last 10 ball games. The Spurs also went 70% to the over in their last 10 meetings with Cleveland. Meanwhile, 5 out of Cleveland's last 9 got over the line themselves, throwing out the Philadelphia game. I'm going to lean toward the Cleveland Cavaliers plus 9 in the over 215. Next matchup, it is going to be Jazz versus Mavs, 7 p.m. Eastern tip-off. The Utah Jazz are -5.5, totals 224 flat. Now, Utah is currently on a 9-game winning streak, 38-11 overall for this season. The Jazz currently lead the NBA in offensive rebounding, top 3 in scoring. Donovan Mitchell is scoring over 25.5 points per contest, 4 rebounds, 5 assists for the starting guard. Meanwhile, Jordan Clarkson is scoring over 17 a night himself, 4 rebounds, couple assists for Clarkson off the bench, by the way. The Jazz make 40% of their three-pointers on the road. They're also allowing just 107 points a game defensively. They're squaring off against the Dallas team, who may have to go to work here without their second leading scorer, Kristaps Porzingis. He's been listed as questionable with a knee. Josh Richardson, J.J. Redick, and Willie Cauley-Stein, they're all out for tonight's contest as well. The Dallas Mavericks have struggled to cover the number at the American Airlines Center this season. Now, out of their 21 home games, they've successfully covered the point spread in just 38% of them. Dallas is in the bottom 10 in shooting the 3-ball at home. They're also in the bottom 10 in the NBA in home offensive rebounding. Now, total-wise, Dallas's last 3 straight all stayed under the number, 70% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Utah's 3-1 to the under in their last 4 themselves, 6-3 to the under in their last 9. I'm going to lean toward the Utah Jazz -5.5 and the under 224. Next ball game, it is going to be Kings versus the T-Wolves, 7 o'clock Eastern start. The Sacramento Kings are -4.5, numbers 235. And despite a little bit of a setback here recently, The Kings have still won 6 out of their last 10 ball games, and they also successfully covered the point spread in 60% of those contests. Now, Sacramento is currently in the top 10 in road scoring. They're also in the top 10 in offensive field goal percentage. De'Aaron Fox is scoring 24.5 points per contest, 3 rebounds, 7 assists for Fox. Meanwhile, Buddy Hield is scoring 16.5 points a game himself, 4 rebounds, 3 assists for Hield. They're taking on a T-Wolves squad who lost their last 2 straight, 2-7 straight up in their last 9. The Timberwolves are in the bottom 3 defensively in points allowed. They're also in the bottom 3 in defending the 3-ball. Now, Rubio, Beasley, Noel, and Russell, they're all listed as doubtful for Minnesota this evening here. So keep an eye on those guys. Not very highly likely that they're going to play. Now, the Timberwolves give up 117 points per contest, and they allow their opponents to make nearly 40% of their three-pointers. When it comes to the total in this one, 3 out of Minnesota's last 4 stayed under the line, 6 and 3 to the under in their last 9. Meanwhile, Sacramento went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Sacramento Kings minus 4.5 in the under 235. Next ball game, it is going to be Knicks versus the Nets, 7 p.m. Eastern showdown. The Brooklyn Nets are minus 4, numbers 217.5. And despite a pretty bad showing last night, the Brooklyn Nets have still won 6 out of their last 8 ball games. They find themselves leading the NBA in scoring on average per contest. And despite the fact that James Harden is questionable with a hammy here tonight, we still have Kyrie Irving, who's second on the team in scoring on average per contest with over 27.5 points a night, along with 5 rebounds and 6 assists. Joe Harris is even dropping 14 a night himself, along with 3 rebounds. The Nets are 20-6 straight up at the Barclays Center, 7-3 straight up in their last 10 meetings with the Knicks. And speaking of the Knicks, they currently have a losing record on the road this year, kind of struggling away from Madison Square Garden this year. Now, out of their 26 road games, they've gotten the W in just 11 of them. They got the W just 11 times out of 26 road games, and they've also lost 3 out of their last 4 contests at any location. The Knicks are in the bottom 3 in road scoring, bottom 10 in offensive field goal percentage. New York's averaging just 103 points per contest. Now, total-wise, the Nets are currently 29-21 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Brooklyn Nets minus 4 in the over 217.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Wizards versus the Raptors, 7 o'clock East. The Toronto Raptors are minus 4.5. Totals 229, juice to the under. Toronto's lost 8 out of their last 10 ball games, 11 games below 500 for the season. The Raptors rank dead last in offensive rebounding, bottom 10 in offensive field goal percentage. Watson, McCall, Hood, and Lowry, they're all listed as out. Van Fleet and Harris, they are listed as questionable. Now they're taking on a Washington team who averages nearly 114 points a night, and they rank in the top 10 in fourth quarter scoring. Now Bradley Beal is listed as questionable for tonight's action, although he was given a handful of days to rest up and recover, so I'm pretty optimistic we're going to see him in action here tonight. He's scoring over 31 points a night along with 5 rebounds and 4 assists, and even if he doesn't play, Russell Westbrook, he's dropping nearly 22 a game himself, 10 rebounds, 10.5 assists for the multi-time All-Star. Simply put here, guys, I just think that Washington's healthy players right now can outduel Toronto's currently healthy players. Now, total-wise, Washington's last 3 straight stayed under the number, 70% to the under in their last 10. The Wizards are also 14-8 to the under when they travel. Meanwhile, the Raptors, on the other side of things, they saw 3 out of their last 5 stay under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Washington Wizards plus 4.5 and the under 229. Next ball game, it is going to be Pistons versus OKC, and that's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern tip-off. The Detroit Pistons are minus 3, totals 212.5. Now, Detroit's gone 60% against the number in their last 10 ball games, 15-10 against the spread in their road games this year, and surprisingly, that's good for 60% in that particular category as well. Jeremy Grant scoring 22 points a game for Detroit, 4 rebounds, couple assists for the starting forward. Meanwhile, Hammy Diallo is dropping a dozen a game for Detroit, along with 5.5 boards. Not a bad first handful of games here for Diallo in his new city. Now, the Pistons are in the top 10 defensively in fourth quarter points allowed on the road. They're taking on an OKC squad who's been pretty much playing without their best players for some time now. Gilgeous-Alexander's out. They also told Al Horford to go home and stay home. Meanwhile, Muscala, Baisley, and Dort, they're all sitting this one out as well. So like I said, pretty much their best players in the first half of the season not in action here tonight. The Thunder lost 5 out of their last 6 ball games, and they failed to cover the number in 7 out of their last 10. Now, the Thunder's in the bottom 3 defensively in points allowed at home. They're also in the bottom 5 in defensive rebounding in that same category. OKC's giving up 116 points per contest at the Chesapeake. And when it comes to the total in this one, the Thunder simply can't score right now. They're 60% to the under in their last 10 as well. 7-3 to the under in their last 10 meetings with Detroit. I'm going to lean toward Detroit Pistons -3 and the under 212.5. With that, guys, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Suns versus the Rockets, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Now, the Suns are the hefty 14-point favorite on the road here. Total's 220.5. The Suns are on a 5-game winning streak, 8-1 straight up in their last 9. Phoenix, is currently 20 games above 500 right now, and they've gone an impressive 16-6 straight up when they travel. Now, Phoenix is in the top 3 in offensive field goal percentage. They're also in the top 3 in shooting the 3 ball on the road. Devin Booker is scoring over 25.5 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists for the starting guard. Meanwhile, Chris Paul is scoring 16 points a night himself, 4 rebounds, 8 assists for Paul. The Suns allow just 106 points a night on their home court. Now, they're taking on a pretty bad Houston team who lost their last 4 straight themselves, and they currently find themselves 23 games below 500. Now, the Rockets have been victorious in only 6 of 24 home games, and they may have to go to work here tonight without the efforts of Daniel House and John Wall. That would certainly be bad news for Houston backers. Now, Houston's dead last in shooting the 3 ball, dead last in defensive rebounding. When it comes to the total on this one, 3 out of Houston's last 5 got over the line. Phoenix saw their last 3 straight get over the total themselves. Give me the Phoenix Suns -14 in the over 220.5. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. Give me Cleveland +9 over 215. Utah Jazz -5.5 under 224. Sacramento Kings -4.5 under 235. Brooklyn Nets -4 over 217.5. Washington +4.5 under 229. Detroit Pistons -3 under 212 and a hook. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 7-2 in our last 9 $1.99 daily best plays on my Patreon website. We're also 5-0 in our last 5 college basketball tier package picks on that Patreon page as well. I'm going to lean toward the Phoenix Suns -14 and the over 220.5. And with that, we're going to dive into some YouTube shout-outs. Shout out to Easy Anderson, Todd Locke, B. Wright, Takea Terry, Filioso, Mike Ernest, Yuli135, Tyler Hanna, Daniel Kaprowski, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my good friend, Isaiah Canamore. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.